Let's go, let's go, let's go! Let's go!
It's about to be a lit day today.
Hey, let's get back to our swagger, come on.
All of them get the dough down.
That is the juggernaut.
All right, we're back. This is the Audible presented by Verizon. Gabe Henderson here alongside Pete Bercich. And our guest of the night, my guy TC83 Tyler Conklin. How you doing, man?
Good. How are you? About time you got me out here. I've been asking for weeks now.
That is very true. It was probably been like week 5 you've been saying.
Yeah, I wanted to ride in the golf cart, but it works too.
Like we got plenty of time before we can do that. I know it's long overdue though.
Yes.
Before you get on here, but long story short, one thing that's long overdue is this trivia question because I know you hold a lot of things to your belt. Like you're very motivated, but we want to see how motivated you are with this trivia question.
Scare me a little bit.
How many tight ends were drafted before you in the 2018 NFL draft?
Oh man, too many. But I didn't really pay too much attention. I know there's probably at least 10. I can probably name them all, but
really, okay,
probably pretty close. I know first round we had Hayden Hurst.
Okay.
Then we had Jordan Atkins, Mark Andrews, Mike Gesicki, Durham Smythe, Dalton Schultz, Will Dissly,
Dallas Goedert.
Gotta be most of them.
You're only missing one more.
One more.
Well, your teammate.
Oh, Chris Herndon.
Crazy.
Yeah, Chris.
Like
4th round.
Yep.
Yes.
You ever sit in meetings and just look at Chris and go, "Don't worry, buddy, I got it."
Chris is my guy. It is just crazy the way things kind of come full circle or all work out. It's kind of like the way my whole career's been in a sense.
So it's crazy. I want to, even with that said, do you know how many tight ends in the same draft class that has more receiving yards than you this season?
Probably Mike, Dallas, Dalton. Is that it? Is there more?
Mark Andrews.
And Mark, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So 11 guys drafted before you, only 4 guys.
1 more yards. It's a good feeling.
But it all makes sense though, and getting a chance to read up on the history and your past. You didn't go to college to play football.
No.
You went to college to play basketball, and that's where most of the great tight ends are. They're in the NBA, right? So your journey to where you are now wasn't as if you've been playing this game since you were knee high to a grasshopper, right? So there's a lot of learning because I see your story as potential. You've always had it. It's just your entrance into this league was just a little bit late.
Yeah, and I just potential and an opportunity. I feel like sometimes just like when I first got, like obviously I played basketball at Northwood and I played there only like my first 7 games in my freshman year before I ended up deciding to transfer and walk on at Central. And I mean, even when I got there, I was the 8th tight end out of 8 tight ends. We had 2 seniors, a junior, a guy that was in my class, 2 freshmen they brought in that year. So even at that point, I moved from receiver to defensive end, and once I got to defensive end, I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I left a full ride scholarship at Northwood. So like when my grandma was just here this weekend, and we were talking about how mad she was. I left a full ride scholarship. She's like, that's $100,000 for free. People pay that off their whole life, and you just left it. And so like leaving that full ride scholarship and then going to Central and ended up moving I played receiver for my first 4 weeks, and I ended up going to DN for a week, and I'm like, oh crap, maybe I did blow this. And I went home because I had to work that off season. I worked at Ram Construction, and I was out golfing with one of my buddies. And I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna just go somewhere smaller and play both sports. Like, I didn't know what it was. I just didn't really, I had a hard time with the transition to college, whether it was change. I had really good friends from high school. I felt like I was just going to college to do the same things I already did with, friends I already had. And then I ended up, instead of transferring, I ended up asking if I could move to tight end, and they moved me. It all began.
Just that ascension or that transition I feel like from everything you've said, your life has just been about adjustments.
Yeah.
So being able to adjust in your family, you talked about your grandma being a part of that adjustment. How proud is your family now for you making those adjustments during all these different obstacles and trials in your life?
Yeah, they're definitely proud. I always talk about my dad, 'cause my dad, like, he thinks it's the coolest thing in the world that I play in the NFL, but he tries so hard to like be nonchalant about it, like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. At least around me, you know, like he tries not to ask for anything, he tries not to make sure like he's acting like he needs to come to every game or anything. He's very nonchalant about it, but I know like to other people and like back home, he's from a real small town. I mean, he graduated high school with like 16 people, K through 12, so like back home and stuff, like I know he's like super proud about it, but he tries to be very nonchalant and whatnot about it. So I know everybody's proud of me, but I don't know. I just feel like everything happens for a reason, and it's kind of everything's already written in a sense.
And so the transition to football, and it's not like you picked the easiest spot either, right? I mean, the linebacker would, you know, he's kind of see ball, get ball, and if you can do that, but tight ends, it takes a while, and I think you're seeing that in the league now because you guys have to know run blocking, you got to know all the techniques. You're the guy that moves, motions, and shifts. And oh, by the way, you got to know all the route trees, and then you got to work on the receiving skills. And you're one of a few tight ends in the league that can do both. And I mean by both, I mean blocking and receiving. So talk about the work that goes into just playing your position in this day and age.
Yeah, it's definitely. I like to think right behind quarterback is probably the toughest position on offense, at least mentally. When I graduated high school, I was 185 pounds. So like the whole transition started from having to gain weight. Like if I wanted to be able to block, I wanted to make sure I was a guy that could do everything. Like I thought that was a neat part about tight end was the fact that you had so many different things that you had to be able to do. It's not like DN or like edge rushers that you gotta learn how to rush the passer. And so I wanted to be able to do a little bit of everything. So it all started with obviously I had to gain a lot of weight. I had a really good tight end coach at Central Michigan, and Coach Sharon Moore, who's the offensive line coach at Michigan now. So without him, you know, I probably wouldn't be here because he did a heck of a job helping me in all aspects of being a tight end. And since then, it's just kind of been trying to piece everything together, working on a little bit of everything, and it's been nice to be in the same offense for a couple of years because you get to feel a little more comfortable, and then you get to go play a little more and work on the techniques because you feel more comfortable in what you're doing. So, yeah, I take pride in being able to do both.
How do you and how did you balance just that mental hurdle of learning a new sport, but also learning a position where you got to do so many different things?
I mean, I always play football though. Like I started playing football when I was tackle football when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
So basketball is just always kind of what I love to do. I just always loved basketball. I don't know. I wanted to be in the NBA. I thought I was going to the NBA. If not, I was at least going overseas for sure.
Pistons fan, right?
Yeah, I was a Pistons fan growing up. You know, I thought for sure I was at least going overseas. I'm like, oh, you can go overseas, you know, live in a different place. Your money's probably not going to be taxed. Like, I just thought I had it all figured out. Knowing for sure I would have had a heck of a time, you know, with the adjustments of being in a different country and all those different things. And, like I think you kind of you hit it right on the head earlier with just adjusting. I never really looked at it like that, but I feel like I have done a pretty good job of adjusting to, you know, just kind of what's thrown at me. And I always tell, like, whenever I'm talking to a younger guy or something, or someone that, you know, they're waiting on an opportunity, it's just, I just feel like if you do things the right way, you know, you do what you're supposed to do, you work hard. If you just do stuff the right way, stuff usually comes back full circle for you. So
talk about the tattoos a little bit, because if I remember. God, this was this year, a couple weeks ago. I remember seeing you warming up and you had shorts on. Mm-hmm. And from a distance, I'm like, that is the hairiest dude I have ever seen in my life. And then, you know, I got closer and I realized that you know, that it's all, you know, they were all tattoos. How did that start and where is it going?
That's kind of something I always wanted to. I always wanted tattoos. Like when I was young, I just always wanted tattoos. And I told my dad was like, just wait until you're at least 18. And I'm like, I really didn't want to, but I had no choice. My dad was super strict. It was his way or the highway. Do what I'm told. You don't have an opinion. Who's gonna watch this and be like, oh, you make me sound like why do you make me sound like a tyrant?
He did a good job. That's why you're sitting here.
And so I listened. Thankfully, I listened because I probably would have a basketball on my arm with like wings or something. And I probably got my first tattoo from my grandma when I was like 21. Oh
wow.
And that was the thing. My mom wanted it to mean something, and my dad just wanted me to wait. So I waited for my dad, and my first couple of tattoos were always kind of about something. So like I started my arm for my grandma, and I did my chest. I don't know what my excuse was for what it meant to my mom so I could get it, but then I would just look down and I'd be like, oh man, like, there's a lot of open space right there. And it would just kind of bug me. I'm a little OCD, like at home too. Like I'm very clean, very like a little bit of a neat freak, and I'll just look down and think, I need to cover that. So then like usually like this time, like mid-football season or something, like I knew off-season was coming or college winter break, I'll start planning like, okay, I'm gonna get this and this. And then just kind of slowly just progressed. And I'm like, I'm only gonna do one leg. And I do my one leg and I'm like, it's not like you're just gonna wear half pant, half short, you might as well do the other leg, you know? And so then the other leg got done and then, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of become part of me, obviously. Like I feel like my parents and stuff at first were like, now it's just, I feel like it wouldn't be me without it.
So you got 38 catches this year. Do you have more catches than tattoos?
They all blend together now, but I mean, I got more hours for sure. I got about 100 hours put in tattoos, so we got more hours than catches, that's for sure. And I got a little more to do. I know Herb just got a couple more tattoos, so now our competition's got to start back up, and I got to catch him, so we got like a little rivalry going there with the tattoo situation.
How is Herb? Like,
he's doing good. I mean, the one thing about Herb, people are like, have you talked to Herb? How's he doing? And I'm like, Herb's always like, mentally, Herb always seems to kind of be in a good place. He's been in good spirits since, it's happened. I talked to him the other day and I keep coming back to everything happens for a reason, but he just talks about like, being at Bama and how they always wear pads and all these different things and like how it's been good to let his body finally recover. And, he's been in good spirits and every time I talk to him, he's smiling and happy and being Herb. So he hasn't showed me any sign of really having a hard time. Sure, it wasn't easy for him, but he's always done a good job of, being in good spirits.
We'll be right back with more from Tyler Conklin on the Audible presented by Verizon.
Tight ends usually have good hands in general, you like to think, but I got good hands, so I'm just go for me. I'm gonna boost myself up a little bit today.
Let's go, bring it up. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Let's go.
It's about to be a lit day today.
Hey, let's get back to our swagger, come on.
All of them get the dough down.
That is the juggernaut.
All right, we're back here inside the TCO studios for another edition of The Audible. My name is Gabe Henderson alongside Pete Bercich. Our guy Tyler Conklin is joining us for another segment at TC. We were talking a little bit about, the tight end position before the break. We talked about, you guys are in the offensive line room, you're meeting with quarterbacks, you got to run every route that the receivers run also. But for people who don't understand what the tight end position does, I won't even say does, but something that goes unnoticed in the tight end position that that they're not aware of. What would you say back to that?
I think people are unaware of kind of everything we just kind of said in the sense of knowing that we had to do all these different things. And I think people know it sometimes, but I don't know if people, like I always think, like I said earlier, you have an edge rusher. Like he works on his rush moves all the time, right? So as a tight end, like how you don't really have the time to put that much effort into every single one of those aspects. You can't spend all day run blocking or all day pass catch. I mean, you can, but then you're kind of going to be one-sided a little bit. And then the other thing that kind of gets neglected is the pass pro. Like pass pro is one thing where you're sitting there one-on-one a lot of times with someone that's getting paid $20 million a year, edge rusher, Myles Garrett. I try to ignore that play.
My bad.
But like situation.
No, that's always something though on the radio. I know during games, if we see that, you bring it up because if you were an offensive tackle and could do that on a consistent basis, you're getting paid a lot of dough.
A lot of money.
You know what I mean? And for a tight end to do it, that's actually amazing.
Depending on the game plan, the scheme, or whatever it is, like sometimes just tight ends get put in some tough positions, and we kind of take pride in it, I think, and that's why we have our own day, right? Why do tight ends have their own day? I'm like, I don't know, we do a lot of stuff.
If you could build the perfect tight end, like attributes like hands, blocking, route running, like what attributes would they have? Like you can name players like George Kittle.
We're gonna piece it together.
Yeah.
I think George Kittle is probably the best blocker that does everything. Like we talk about doing both pass catching and run blocking. I'd have to say Kittle's probably the best when it comes to that. But if I think about best blocker, I probably think like Lee Smith.
Okay.
But Lee Smith also wears knee braces and elbow pads and a duck face mask, and so I say probably Kittle when it comes to the run blocking or blocking in general. I mean, Kyle Pitts now when you think about speed, he's probably the fastest tight end in the NFL right now, so you want to be fast, huh? And Kelsey is just, it's hard for me to watch the Chiefs sometimes because sometimes it just looks like they're playing backyard football. And I'm like, what did he just run? Like, it'd be a corner, but he kind of stops and settles in the hole. But the one thing about Kelsey is he always gets, the amount of yak he gets and yards after the catch to me is always like, how did he just turn it into a 60-yard run? So I think his yards after the catch is very underrated for tight ends, but I think he doesn't get enough credit for what he does after the catch sometimes.
Hands.
I think I got some pretty good hands.
I was waiting for it.
I think I got some pretty good hands. I think my best attributes are probably my hands and my ability to go up and get the ball, which I feel like I haven't had too many opportunities to showcase yet, but I feel like when it comes to ball skills and going to get the ball, I do that at a pretty high level. That's always kind of what I've took pride in and like prided myself on is going up and getting the ball. So tight ends usually have good hands in general, you like to think, but I got good hands, so I'm just go for me. I'm gonna boost myself up a little bit today.
We'll leave it at that.
What do you look forward to? Is it in the passing game, let's say, is it knowing that a linebacker's got to cover you, or do you prefer going against the safety because of the body size difference? Or, I mean, is there a particular player defensively that you just don't like to see?
Yeah, that goes back to having to block some people like Khalil Mack. Like, you never want to sit there like, I look forward to blocking Khalil Mack this week. And the thing is, every team has that person now. You know? We just had Joey when we played the Chargers. We're going to have Nick Bosa this weekend. We're going to have, usually it's Zadarius Smith in Green Bay. Like, most teams have that guy. Myles Garrett, we played. That was a heck of a defensive line. Jadeveon Clowney, Myles Garrett, Malik McDowell, everywhere you went was a good player. So I think that's the one matchup where you're kind of like, crap, I got to get this done. It's going to be tough sledding, but I got to get it done. That's kind of usually in the blocking game against a guy like that. In the pass game, I love running routes. I think when you get a linebacker out there, you probably get, usually it's an advantage for the tight end, you'd like to think. But it's always fun to be able to go out there and match up against a good safety that's known for covering, that's known to shut down tight ends. Like, it's good to go out there and compete and show that you can do it against these guys that are supposed to be, the top coverage guys or whatnot.
I feel like just from week one until where we are right now, how teams game plan for you is a lot different. Yeah. Sometimes they'll bring a nickel, sometimes they'll bring a safety, and you went up, what was it, J-Ron Curse, Dallas Cowboys 30 yards, just a jump ball. And like now teams have to factor you into the equation. How has the way teams guarded you evolved since week one?
I really don't think too much about it, to be honest. Like when I watch film, first of all, I like watching full games. Like, I like watching the flow of a game, how a team plays. I like seeing what players are going to be matched up on me, and then just kind of seeing what tendencies or what I think will work against them. But I really don't put too much into like, how are they scheming for you, I feel like we got so many weapons, like they have to scheme for some other guys. Like, it's just the way it is. Justin has to be schemed for, as you can see, what he just did last week. Delvin has to be schemed for. Adam has to be schemed for. Then you're probably looking at little old me after you scheme for some of those guys,
Hey, that's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have. We got a heck of a team, and not even KJ, too. Like, there's just a lot of players out there that make plays, Madison. So I feel like they got a scheme for a lot of those guys probably before they can worry about me too much. But it does feel good to get respect on certain players. Okay, I do got a nickel on me, or the DNs, not give me a free release and the nickel's guarding me. So you do notice some of those things, and it's good to feel or good to see. And coaches every once in a while coming up to you and you're becoming a heck of a player, or giving you nods every once in a while is always a good thing to hear.
What's a couple or one thing in particular about Kirk Cousins that as a player that we don't know? What does he do that sometimes you're like, wow?
As like personality-wise, or
just as a football? As a quarterback
player, he throws a great ball. Like, I think he throws such a catchable ball.
What is that? What is a catch? What do you mean by catchable ball?
Just the way he throws it. Just sometimes like the touch he puts on it, even if it's a hard throw. Like, even the ball he threw to me for the touchdown against the Chargers last week, he zipped that thing in there. But just the way he throws the ball is just so catchable. The touch he puts on it, when it's down the field, the placement he puts on it. I think that's something really underrated about Kirk, is just the how good of a ball he throws, and his accuracy. I think those things kind of go hand in hand, is his accuracy and him throwing a nice ball, a catchable ball. So
yeah, I totally understand that, because when you get out of a route, you know where the ball is going to be. You know you don't have to adjust or look back. You know everywhere you're going to be, the ball's going to be.
Yeah, and if you do have to adjust, usually he knows that you're going to have to figure that out, so he'll put a little more touch on it for you.
Right.
He's not going to like throw a ball you're not expecting and then throw it 100 miles per hour where it's like, okay. And if he does give you a tough ball, it'll be like, usually he'll throw a good ball and he'll be like, that was a good catch, that's a tough one. And it's like, yeah. It was a pretty good ball, but whatever. I appreciate you, I guess.
So this 49ers defense, we'll talk a little 49ers here. This 49ers defense, sixth best total D in the NFL. Anything that stands out to you just from when we played them 2 years ago and where they are right now being 5-5?
I feel like every week we've played a defense that's supposed to be, really good. Like every week there's a good defense, there's a good player. Like Carolina, we're going to Carolina, they're like the third best defense at the time. I think the Packers were like the third best defense last week.
Yep.
The Chargers had a good defense. They had like the first best pass defense. One of the, not as good of a run defense, but then we went through the ball for 297 yards or whatever we threw for. So I think every week, that's something we talk about. Every week is a new challenge, a good team. At the end of the day, we know how good we are. Like I just talked about all these different players we have in our room. And, we know how good we can be and how good we are. And I think we're just excited to just go and try to prove that every week. And, that's what you want. You want to go against a tough defense and play good. That's the beauty of the game. Like you want to go play against people that are good, a defense that's good, and go show that, you're better.
So mentally, where do you think this offense is? Because from watching it for a long time, it seems as if the last few weeks, there's a lot more resiliency there. I mean, do you guys feel that too? Just a confidence level, calmness level that no matter what the situation brings, you guys can get done what you want to get done?
Yeah, I think so. I think people talk about, you guys lost a lot of close games. We've lost a lot of close games, and I think as long as you can stack together wins and put yourself in the right position to have, be in the playoffs and make that run, those close games are only going to pay off. And I think you see that, the last 2 weeks is, we've been in the games, and maybe some teams haven't been in these close games where they've had to, fight back with 30 seconds left and drive and get a field goal. Whether we won or lost, we, over time have proved to ourselves that, we can do whatever we got to do to help us win. And I think that's kind of what we might be seeing a little bit, is the fact that we've done it week in and week out. Yeah, we would like to not give everybody gray hair every week, but it's definitely a good trait to have, to know that, hey, we've been in close games. We know how to win close games. We've learned from our mistakes of why we lost in close games. So, when we get into them further, and, we got, as all games are important, but, the playoff hunt gets tighter and tighter, you can pull out the close ones.
Tyler, always a pleasure talking to you.
I appreciate you guys having me.
Joining us.
Thank you.
For TC, Pete Bercich, thank you for joining us today, too. Always a pleasure talking to you, too.
This is awesome.
We'll do this more often. My name is Gabe Henderson. For everybody involved in the show today, huge thank you to those guys. Brian Rogers, Mike Hurish, Jay Nelson. Thank you to everybody. Jesse Marquette. It's been a pleasure having these two guys on today, and we'll talk to you guys and see you next week.